Are you experiencing bald spots and you're wondering if it's alopecia or some other type of hair loss? Let me tell you how you can know if you are experiencing alopecia. Hello, my name is Dr. Dwella Moten Nelson. I am your healthy scalp specialist. So, in order for you to tell if you have alopecia or some other type of balding, you will normally see small bald spots on the scalp where there's no hair growing. Those small areas are usually a round shape or they're in the shape of an oval, and that's considered to be singular alopecia or singular patches of alopecia. That would kind of be your first phase of determining if you have alopecia. Is if you see those little round spots, they can be as small as a dime, they can be as large as a quarter or larger than that. Many times it starts very, very small, maybe like about the size of a head of, say, a pin head, and then it'll grow and widen over time. So as you're watching it, if it starts to spread, it starts to look wider over time, you can be sure as you start to see that it could be a sign of early alopecia. The second thing you want to notice in your scalp when you're looking at your hair, either you're looking at or a loved one is looking at it, or you're looking at a loved one's hair that you might think is experiencing alopecia. Second phase there is when you start to see multiple patches that are close together where that hair is not growing any longer. And many times those multiple patches, because they're right next to each other, as they start to broaden and get wider, they'll start to grow into each other and become a much larger patch on the scalp. So that's looking at our phase 2 of kind of trying to determine if you're experiencing alopecia. The last stage of alopecia is when you start to see large areas of your scalp when you're looking at your hair. Large areas of your scalp that do not have hair. The hair is not growing back. You've seen the hair come out and you've seen the patches, but you're still not sure. Once you see those patches starting to grow together and become very large patches, you can pretty much be sure that it's probably going to be alopecia. So my suggestion to you, if you see this in your scalp, is to definitely seek a medical professional for a diagnosis. I would suggest going to see a dermatologist. They can look at your scalp. They also can look biopsies of the scalp to confirm if it is alopecia that you're experiencing. So I hope that this is helpful for you to determine if the balding and the spots that you see in your scalp, the places on your scalp that are not growing hair, I hope that this is helpful for you to determine if you're actually experiencing alopecia or some other type of hair loss. So there are many other ways that you can lose your hair that are not identified as alopecia. There is a medical condition where there are individuals who like the feeling of pulling the hair from the scalp. They sometimes do it when they're sleeping, sometimes they do it when they're awake, but they'll end up with bald areas on the scalp that it's another medical condition that's caused by them pulling hair from the scalp. Another thing is if you have braids or tension types of hairstyles, many times those braids or tension styles can tug on the hair that's on the scalp and cause you to have tension alopecia, which is not the same as alopecia that causes like alopecia areata, where you have the round patches. It's not the same type of alopecia, but it does still cause balding. You also have male pattern baldness, which is another type of balding, another type of alopecia that men experience and women experience, but that's caused by an increase of DHT, which is a hormone that causes your hair to come out. Again, another type of hair loss. As you get older, the width and the thickness of your hair will normally be much less than when you were younger, and people will wash their hair and see hair in the shower or see hair in their combs. You'll normally have a particular amount of hair shed every single month because your hair goes through a hair cycle. It goes through an anagen phase, which is the growth phase, and then it goes to the ending phase of that cycle where that hair will come out. And everyone has this shedding process where it starts to grow, it grows a little bit longer in the anagen phase, then it ends the growth cycle and that hair then comes out or sheds. So that's very normal. But if you're washing your hair in the shower, you can see sometimes people say, oh, I'm seeing a lot of hair in the shower. As I'm showering, there's a lot of hair on the floor of my shower, and I don't know why that's happening. That could easily be caused from aging. It could also be caused from medication that you're taking. There are lots of supplements that have side effects of you losing your hair as well, or hair loss or shedding. Many shampoos and conditioners may not be right for your hair, right for your scalp, or ideal for the condition or environment of your scalp. So they can also cause shedding. If your hair is dry and brittle and it's not moisturized, or your scalp is dry and brittle, it also can cause hair drop or hair falling out or hair fall. So you want to make sure that you don't identify every single thing that you might consider as alopecia in that particular framework of alopecia, if you will. Much hair loss does not mean that you automatically have alopecia. Alopecia is a scalp condition. It is not that your hair is dry. It is not that your hair is breaking. It is not that your hair is not moisturized. It has more to do with your scalp than it does with your hair and the condition of your hair. So I hope that these tips will help you to be able to determine when you see hair loss, if you actually are experiencing alopecia or if you're experiencing hair loss of some other type. One thing that you want to consider when you're looking at alopecia or checking your scalp for alopecia, you want your scalp environment to be as healthy as possible. So how do you know if you have a healthy scalp? Now, I've done some other videos that help you to get your scalp as healthy as possible. I've done videos to help you to know how to keep your hair in the anagen phase and keep it growing. I've also done some other videos that help you to understand more about alopecia and the different types of alopecia. So we're going to link that below for you to check out. But we're going to talk about healthy scalp. So when you look at your scalp, do you see redness on your scalp? Is your scalp flaky? Is it itchy? Does it feel dry to the touch? Because all hair grows from the scalp. All of your hair on your head will grow from your scalp. And our motto at Dr. Topic Oils is that a healthy scalp will grow hair. So if your scalp is healthy, you are pretty much guaranteed to grow hair. So there's many things that can happen on top of the scalp that you may not be able to see visually. So looking at your scalp, one thing that sometimes will lead to alopecia is having inflammation under the skin. Your scalp may not be red or flaky, but there may be inflammation under the skin that's causing your hair to come out. That's a type of alopecia that can be diagnosed as well. So you want to look at your scalp. Your scalp should look nice and moisturized. It should not look dry or flaky. It should not look red or have pustules. Pustules are like little pimples or inflammation on the scalp that are filled with pus. Those things are all signs of unhealthy scalp. So you want to make sure that your scalp is as healthy as possible. You also want to make sure it's healthy if you're putting anything at all on your scalp to treat it for any kind of condition, whether it's alopecia or hair loss or thinning. You want to start with a healthy scalp. If you put product onto your hair, even if it's shampoo, if your scalp is unhealthy and your scalp is inflamed or your scalp has red patches or pustules, if you put conditioner and shampoo on that scalp, you're doing more damage to your scalp. Your scalp is an extension of the skin that's on your face. You wouldn't treat your face in a negative way or in a rough way like you would treat your scalp. So be careful and be very gentle when you're washing your hair, when you're conditioning your hair. You want to make sure that you're being kind to your scalp so that your scalp will remain healthy. So those are some tips that you can look at when you're trying to determine if your scalp is healthy. Just by looking at what it looks like, you don't want your scalp to be red and flaky. You don't want it to be dry. You want it to be moisturized, and you want it to look healthy and pliable. You don't want it to be tight where it's so dry that just touching it feels very dry to the touch. You want it to be moisturized. So you want to keep all those things in mind as you're starting to grow your hair out, or as you're starting to treat your scalp to treat alopecia. You want to make sure that your scalp is healthy before you start any type of treatment at all. Thank you again. This is Dr. Dwella Moten Nelson, your healthy scalp specialist, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Bye.